How long did that battle go on?
It's still going on.
Mm.
It's still going on. Now, I would say probably from 6 hours, 5 hours, from 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. to well, probably just 3 hours.
What do you mean it's still going on?
Well, it's still going on, think about things like that. I do.
Do you think about it every day?
Yep, every day.
And what is that? Is it images? Is it thinking through what you did? Replaying that tape of what I did and kind of that I could have done that differently, or what is it? What is the stuff?
I think it's images. I think it's images, and I think it's just just kind of going over things.
So I don't want to pry, but when you and so feel free to to move on. But you say there are images that go through your mind. Are there certain images, or is there a certain sort of recurring thing that kind of comes to your mind? Is there something that most stands out in your mind? You think
No, I would say it's just reoccurring images.
When did you get out of the Army?
April 23rd, 1971.
So you're in 69, you're out in 71.
22 months, 21 months, something like that. I ETS'd in Oakland, California. That was a big mistake. But you could, at the time, if you came back from Vietnam with, I believe it was less than 90 days, you got out, you were out. So that's what I decided to do. So I ETS'd in Oakland, California.
The ETS is early
Elapsed service time, I think.
elapsed service time. Why do you say it was a mistake to do that in Oakland?
Well, I think one of the things for me, reoccurring things, is that, when you're in Vietnam, when I was in Vietnam, focus on being the best soldier you can be, being the best soldier to your buddy, coming back alive, and doing the job. But when I came home, and you have all these fantasies when you're still in Vietnam, your friends are the best friends, your parents are the best parents, your girlfriend's the best girlfriend, da 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 da. And then you come home, and it's like it's nothing like that at all. It's, if anything, it's just the opposite. It was, and I guess my point about Oakland is that there should have been some re-entry time for people like me who just got out and were gone, were civilian, as opposed to, staying in. Because there should have been some time to just decompress, to understand what was going on in our country at this time, and realize that some of the stuff that I had in my mind was a fantasy. And that was a big mistake that I made. And I think that we should have. It took 6 months to 6 months and change before they sent you overseas to fight, to die, to kill. But I mean, there wasn't even 6 hours to let you back into society, because I wasn't ready to be let back in. And I think a lot of guys were like me. They weren't ready to come back.
So you didn't have, do you pretty much go straight from the field to Tan Son Nhut and you're flying out and now you're landing in Oakland? You didn't have 2 or 3 days at least on the beach at Cameron to decompress or anything?
No, that's it, dude. You just back out there on the street. And I remember they used to fly you to wherever you were inducted. So I was from Pittsburgh. So they flew me from Oakland. I took the bus or whatever to San Francisco Airport, San Francisco to LA, LA to Pittsburgh. And I showed up in Pittsburgh, an empty plane. There was maybe, less than 20 or 30 people on the plane in the middle of the night. Here I am, but every other word was a 4-letter word, and not by choice, but just because of the vernacular that we used. Every other word was a 4-letter word, and I was cautious about things. But there should have been, in my opinion, there should have been some time for a week, 5 days, 1 day, anything, to just say, hey guys, there's a lot of protesters out there. There's people spitting on people. There's that kind of stuff, to give you a heads up about. You had more information about going into Cambodia than going into Oakland in some respects.
Often vets say, especially when they flew into San Francisco, Oakland, they say that, they get off the plane, they're in uniform, and they have some kind of problem. How did things go for you?
I had no problems. But I was ready to rock and roll if I did, but I had no problems. It was just the thing that was the hardest was the attitude in our people, my neighbors, my relatives, everybody was so influenced by the media, Walter Cronkite, that, people looked at you in a very negative way, I believe, where I was proud and I made it through and I was a good soldier and everything. And nobody cared about that. Nobody. That was the hardest part. And that is the hardest part. I can go on and on about that, but I mean, it's like, that's the key. Like my parents were like, my uncle, I was on a bus to sign up for something. City of Pittsburgh used to gave you $25 a month for every month that you were away. So I was going down to sign up, and my uncle just happened to be on the same bus. And he came up behind me and he grabbed me on my shoulder, showing love and respect because he hadn't seen me in 12 months, 13 months. And I put him down on the ground. I was there. And it was just a reaction. But the point is about the reactions. I mean, there should have been more re-entry time for people that were ETSing from the Army. It was just, you just weren't ready for it. And people weren't ready for you either.
You said a little while ago that, the battle of May 17, 1970 is still going, that you think about it every day. How long was it before you felt like you had, at least to some degree, succeeded in settling back into, civilian life? Or has that ever happened?
Well, I'm married right now with a beautiful gal, and I'm feeling pretty good. But it's taken a while.
Yeah.
Taken a while to get here. I was talking to Comcast, which is in Florida. It's an internet, communications company, and they changed my bill from the previous location to this location. We're going through some stuff, and I said, and by the way, I'm a combat veteran in Vietnam. And she goes, "Thank you for your service." And it was like pressing a button, thank you for your service. It didn't mean it, in my opinion, it didn't mean a thing. These corporate responses particularly are bogus. They don't mean anything to me. I can't speak for other people. When I see another vet, and you can usually tell with it, when I'm at the VA or I go to the VA or whatever, somebody has a hat on or T-shirt. When I see one of those guys and I say and they say to me, "Thank you for your service," or I say to them, the same thing. It's genuine, in my opinion. But when it's coming from somebody else, I think you have to put a filter on it. And particularly if it's in a corporate situation where there's money involved for whatever reason, same thing. I think there were a lot of people that were in Vietnam that weren't in combat, but they were still potentially exposed to the
Sure.
opportunity.
No, that's right.
Because I just ran into another guy last week. He had his hat on. We were at the supermarket, and I said, "Welcome home." And we started talking. And he was a helicopter maintenance guy in Da Nang, and it was like, dude, that's an important job, particularly if you're in the helicopter. I mean, and anyway, I think that being a vet is one thing, being a combat vet is another thing, but just that corporate reply,
I agree with you. Of course, I don't understand exactly where you're coming from, not having experienced it, but I'm with those who find that kind of trite response annoying, not for me, but because it does seem kind of trite. What would you said when you think about that line, it says it doesn't really mean anything. What would mean something?
Well, the one that we try to use is welcome home. That's pretty much what I say. Welcome home to a guy, because really, that's what I'm still trying. That's what everybody's still trying to do is get home, welcome home, dude. Thanks for your service. Let's just move on. Just acknowledge it. And that's pretty much the way I do it. Just welcome home.